But now would be a good time to remind people that this book exists. Drug cartels do not exist. Narco Trafficking and Culture in US and Mexico by Oswaldo Zavala. This book is not exactly what you think it is. Drug cartels absolutely do exist, and this is a Mexican academic's look into the culture and history of how they came into being, how the US government and US buyers of drugs are specifically propping up the entire industry. I think this book does a really good job at exploring the really intricate detail on how geopolitics works in this circumstance. I think it also helps explain US relations to South America in general. I think it gives a great overview of how to understand modern politics because this is a central talking point and theme in all of our talks about US immigration. This is kind of the backbone of how to go about understanding it in a historical and a cultural standpoint. Fair warning, I mean, this book is pretty short, but it is rather dense, so this might be a difficult read for some people. Another book that I would really recommend, and you can get the audiobook of it, is Fort Bragg Cartel by Seth Harp. I think this looks at kind of the US's role specifically. It looks at JSOC, which is kind of this quasi secretive branch of the US military that has basically the infinite funding of the US military, but is mostly used in order to do just like heinous crimes and to prop up the entire drug running empires of the world. I think it's a really firmly well told story that I think is like both fascinating for your true crime readers, but also has so much in way of like talking about the global political issue of how the US military and how the US economy is instrumental and foundational for understanding these drug empires. I think it does a really good job at exploring that. And I think it's also one of those things that in our conversations of mass politics that we're often missing out on those types of topics, or like these are just things that the like modern media is not going to cover. And I think it's like incredibly important to understand the US military, the US government, as not just like byproducts of this thing, but of simply being the institutional funding for how this entire world operates.